A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is one of the best shows I have seen in a long time, and it's honestly what the Hobbit series should have been. A smaller, character-driven fantasy story that leans on dialogue, relationships, and quiet world-building, not spectacle. The Hobbit was never meant to feel like Lord of the Rings. It was intimate, personal, and focused on growth. But somewhere in adaptation, that scale was lost. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms proves you don't need massive battles or endless CGI to make a fantasy story feel important. Sometimes the smaller story hits harder. It is said that Peter Jackson initially wanted the Hobbit movies to be a singular movie, but producers knew they could take advantage of the situation and squeeze as much money out of it as possible. Something I found interesting is that many fans actually enjoyed the moments in the trilogy that Tolkien had written in the book, not the ones that the movies added. That's where A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms has thrived. The tales of Dunk and Egg, written by George R.R. Martin, are within the Game of Thrones universe, much like The Hobbit is within the Lord of the Rings universe. The difference, though, is how the producers of each has chose to adapt the books to the screen. Seven Kingdoms is short, 30-minute episodes, not overly expanding on the somewhat limited material. It makes you wonder how much better the Hobbit movies could have been if they had followed the same approach, or even better, if they had waited, and instead of the garbage Rings of Power abomination, we got a Hobbit series faithful to the book. The Hobbit book balances lightness with danger. Martin's stories do the same, but the films swing wildly between cartoonish and apocalyptic. Seven Kingdoms has so far found the perfect balance, and Martin has even said himself that it's like the words he wrote have sprung to life on screen.
I'm very enthused about these characters. It's so great to see this come alive.
A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms reminds us that fantasy doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. Sometimes the most memorable stories come from small journeys, quiet conversations, and characters growing one choice at a time. That's the scale The Hobbit was written for, and the scale it should have stayed in.